Mr. Tritt. How are you today?
Doing well. Welcome everybody. Hi, Joe.
Hi. It's good to see you again. It's been a couple weeks, so I'm glad we're back on it.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and
Another beautiful day.
yeah, tell everyone where you're at.
Yeah, so I'm just at the top of a hiking trail here in Louisville, Colorado, and you've got the Flatirons over there, the whole Front Range, kind of the top of this little valley here. But beautiful place to be. I got to go and hike some of those or rock climb some of those Flatirons earlier in the week, and that was a really beautiful way to start the day. Um, Got to do some river surfing again last night and did some kayaking last weekend. So life is good out here.
Good for you, man. Yeah, Aaron and I are both from Colorado. We're in Boulder County, and for me personally, I only moved out of Colorado. Well, I guess twice. When I was younger, I was in Kansas for a short period, which wasn't my thing, and then in LA for a little bit. So I got to switch it up a little bit. But man, I always come back to Boulder County. It's gorgeous, and I've gotten into mountain biking more recently. And obviously, you and I both snowboard and went snowboarding that one time, and so life is good. Life is great.
Yes, sir. So it's great. One of the reasons it's great is that we can command our attention, right? Like they say, the goose can only fly south, but the human mind can think. So we kind of chatted briefly about this earlier, but commanding attention is really important. It's a gift that we have, that we can use our imagination and our mindset to direct our lives and to give ourselves opportunities. Obviously, I spend a lot of my time playing games with my body. It's the meat bag that I am. It's the tool that I get to use. So I like to spend a lot of my time doing that, eating healthy food and going out there and playing, running and bicycling and climbing and surfing and racing motorcycles and all the things, the games that we get to play. That's one way I get to command my attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I'm happy that we touched base right before this call because when Aaron first reached out to me on that subject, I had taken it as to how we command our attention externally, and his mind went to how we command our attention internally. So it's good, and that's one thing I enjoy is how our minds perceive a subject before really digging in and seeing what the other perceives the subject as. And I think, Aaron, for me, I benefited greatly from you and watching how much you get out and how many hobbies you have. And, obviously I have two kids, which impedes a little bit on the time, but you've brought that importance back to my life after having my son with a heart condition and the tornado that was 2018. I really realized that the most important thing in life is enjoying life, and so
Absolutely.
it's incredible. It's a way I want to raise my boys and make sure that they're not, the video game generation that doesn't get out and actually do things. So I think that's hugely beneficial. So yeah, to your point, as we talked about commanding attention and where your mind went, I want you to dig in a little bit to how really what that means in your mind, and then I can dig into my thoughts, on my side.
Sure. Yeah. So commanding attention. I think a lot of it is the idea of goal setting, or at least direction setting the sail, um, and prioritizing things in life, saying what is it that I want, and then aiming at it. So for me, I've been on my real curiosity, my goals in life is largely just to find wisdom. That's what drives me mostly. I want to know as much as I can. I want to find out what the sages over the eras have known, and there's lots of ways that I pursue that. I do it through meditation, I do it through investigation, I do it through reading, I do it through conversation with people, and I just try to be open-minded, and I score really high in that openness on the big five personality traits, because it's something that is a real gift for me, is that by not having a pre-prejudice against or for things, that I can become closer to real wisdom and misunderstand less of the world. That's kind of what it is for me largely. And I feel like that is Part of being wise is also being healthy and feeling right in the body. So being confident and being just healthy in general, having healthy relationships. Like the one of the most wise things that we've talked about before is gratitude. It's just being appreciative of the gift that it is to be here and to be able to touch other people's lives and for them to touch yours.
Absolutely, man. And I think, gratitude is widely said to be the most powerful of emotions or focuses in what I've studied in terms of the law of attraction and energy. It immediately requires that your energy turn positive. There's no way in my mind to have a negative energy or outlook if you're thinking about what you're thankful for. It forces your energy and your mindset to go positive. And I think that's so important and cannot be, it can't be overstated, how important positivity is, and gratitude brings that to you. And so that's a great point. And I think that, when you first mentioned energy, I thought about positive energy and how it commands attention without trying to the outside world. But then when you got into internal energy and how you can control where you focus, why you focus, and how you focus, it's going to expedite and put your success in life on hyperdrive. And it's a super important part of life. And I think that for me, as you talked, I am very much into relationships and relationship growth with everyone. And I really have tried and learned in the last couple of years to pull wisdom and to pull experience from others. I started a new job on June 1st, and I've allowed myself to really I'm surrounded by these men and women who are just titans in industry and in business. And it's great to see that they are incredibly happy in their career, incredibly happy in their life, because a lot of my business career to date has made me go in an opposite direction mentally. And it's almost made me feel like I'm trading my happiness or passion for money. And that is the last thing that I want to do. It's just not worth it. And so I think having that positive energy inside and that outlook has brought me finally to a point in the world where I can see that you can marry the two. And then if you're really cognizant to it, you can also determine how much is enough and where's the tipping point of happiness and wealth, and wealth isn't money either.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a real thing. You were talking initially there saying that there was a zero sum idea, right? That there was an either happiness or wealth equation somehow, and totally not true, right? As you're finding and you see in proof in all these other titans, and I see it all the time also with the affluent people that I work with and I get to be around all the time, that there is no happiness for money exchange if you operate on the creative plane. If you are somebody that brings value and offers the world your gift, and not in a mindset of scarcity, but in a mindset of growth and giving and exploration, then doors open, resources are given, and more difference in a positive way can be made for the world. There's something that that creative mindset, like as they say, it rises all tides, right? Like all the boats go up because you bring everybody up.
Absolutely, man. And I think I hit on this a little bit in our last video, so not to be redundant, but I just keep going back to how my life has gone the last, 6 months. Coronavirus hits, I lose my job, which, was the biggest blessing ever. And luckily I was blessed to have lost my job at the very beginning of this epidemic, where I was given a severance and I had 4 months to just really get a break after what I deemed as a soul sucking, 3 years of turning a business around. And it was just really hardcore, but it also set me up for success and for an entry into a better work world and a better focus. And, it was it's so motivating to see that the universe let me leave a position that I wasn't happy in, gave me 4 months to spend time with my family and to recover my mental state. And then out of nowhere, this opportunity comes across my plate that I wasn't even sure if I was ready for, but my mind never lets me think that I'm not ready for something. I'll figure it out. And it's just incredible how 2 days before my severance ended, when I really would have been in kind of a tough spot had I not found another role, and in the middle of a world where a lot of people are hurting because there's not a lot of job opportunities, and companies are shifting and being affected greatly. Um, I think a lot of people would have started to worry, and that worry would have then sent them down a spiral where they're putting out there what they're going to get back. And worry just never entered my mind. It never entered my wife's mind. And things worked out just because we never let ourselves think that it wouldn't work out.
So that's all true in your experience. Where do you feel like that power comes from?
Positive thought. Really, I think it just boils down to positive thought. I really truly believe that what is in your mind is how your world is going to work out and how your life is going to go. And so I boil it down to positive thought, but I also boil it down to gratitude. You know, Even though I did not enjoy my past career or my last project, I was grateful along the whole way because of what I was learning. And I thought the skill sets I was learning, as painful as they might have been at the time, are the only reason why this new opportunity came my way. And so
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
that
That's,
gratitude, you know.
yeah. That's something that like Jim Rohn always says. Jim Rohn says it's not what you're getting, it's what you're becoming. Right? What are you becoming in the process? Who cares what you're getting right now? What you might be getting is better, is becoming a more useful being,
Exactly.
a more loving, less ignorant being, right? That can offer more value. Most of the history of the world, the men that have made a difference uh, didn't do so until they were older than 40, 50, 60. It takes a long time uh, to curate the being and to see past the instinctual responsiveness and into the depth of understanding, where one can offer real value. Now, technology's changed that a little bit, where an innovation can make something different happen very quickly. But I think that's important too for a lot of people to remember and to think about. We don't trust a president until they're 42, right?
Yep. No, I
It
agree.
takes time.
I like that point. It's funny. I tell people all the time. I told my little brother this the other day because he has trouble realizing that you have to fail in life in order to succeed. And he had this mindset that he could go from, really an entry level individual in the business world and go from that to the lead designer of Apple. And it just doesn't work that way. And I used to let myself get really upset with the thought that you couldn't become a CEO of a business at age 25. It's very hard to do that unless you start the business. And as I have gone through my career, it's humbled me to the fact that there's a good reason why that is. You're just not ready. You don't have the knowledge. It's like if I went into your industry and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a tile or a contracting company, and in 1 year I'm going to be the most successful guy in the industry. It's not going to happen. It takes years and years and years, and that's true for every part of life, not just profession, but hobbies. And like you said, you race motorcycles, and you would whoop me if I started racing motorcycles tomorrow because I haven't put the time in.
Of course, yeah, and it's the same with like the best people in the world, right? The people that make millions of dollars racing motorcycles started when they were 4 years old and dedicated their life to it. They put the time in and refined it till the level of refinement is almost at the limit. I mean, of current human possibility, at least.
Yep.
But we also see that develops over time. That as like the simple examples that get used all the time are like when the 4 minute mile got broken. Everybody said it was impossible, and then it got broken, and then like that those records got just collapsed. Everybody could do it that tried. But before that, the human spirit thought it was not possible.
Yep, and that's one of the best parts of the human spirit is seeing these records or these limitations be broken. I'm going to let's post a link to a documentary I watched recently. I believe it's called The Greatest, but I'll look it up, or The Greatest of All Time. And what it does is it goes into the athletes that are the greatest in their sport, the main ones were Jerry Rice in football, Wayne Gretzky in hockey, um, and there's one other. But anyway, what it says is all of these individuals just became obsessive with their focus, and it was a healthy obsession. It was something they wanted to do, and it talked about how parents nowadays are pushing their children and trying to almost create the greatest out of them, and it's burning them out, and it's doing the opposite effect. And all of these individuals said, we have to let kids nowadays find their passion and run with it, whatever that is, because they said we all learned from throwing the ball in the backyard. Our parents weren't taking us around to every camp and every day, every minute, trying to hone us into being the greatest in our field. And it's very interesting how they looked at it. So let's post that link. I'll dig it up, and we can post it in the video.
That's it. That's interesting. Yeah, and they've also done they've done tests about this also. Like, can the parent create the greatest with a conscious idea? And there was I forget exactly who, he was a speaker but a teacher, and he said to his audience, he says, I want to make my children chess grandmasters. And those children didn't exist yet. So he asked the women in the audience, would any of them pursue that with him? Create children for the sake of making grandmaster chess children.
Yeah.
And one woman did. So he got an audience member to like breed children with him, essentially, and so that they could raise them with the intention of becoming grandmaster chess players. And they all did. All the kids did, but they were very resentful for it and all quit by late teens.
Wow, that's interesting, man. It's like Brian. Do you know Brian Bosworth? He was a quarterback in the NFL. So his dad basically had this life goal of the same thing, getting him to be the best quarterback of all time. And he made it into the NFL. He was, incredible in college, but then he became a massive drug addict, dropped out of the NFL, and just resented his dad and hated the sport, and was so unhappy that it showed the effects of this individual being pushed to do something that they probably would have been incredible as it is, but he was pushed so hard, and his dad was more of a trainer, a athletic trainer to him than a father, and it just ruined him.
Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, and I was talking to somebody about this, and I sometimes had wished in my life that my parents would have been a little bit more disciplinarian about that, to have let me select some hobby, but then force me to stick with it through some of my iterations of changing my mind, my focus. I would get to a certain level of competence and then be like, I want to do something different. I want to do something different, And my parents always encouraged that. They said, you can do anything you want to do and you'll be great at it. And in exchange for that, I now am very competent at like hundreds of different hobbies, but I'm not the best at any of them. And for some time I used to be upset about that, because I know that with the kind of mind and my natural capabilities that I have, I probably could have been whatever Olympian style if I would have been forced to be. But there's also a huge loss there in some sense, where you miss everything else, right? Everything, there's only so much time and so much focus, and because I'm so well rounded in my hobbies, that one of the gifts of it that I didn't realize until recently is that I can relate to virtually everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a little bit how you read a number of books, and that's where you get a lot of your knowledge. My mind is never, and maybe this is a limitation I put on myself, but my mind is never done super well with reading. I don't retain information very well, just because I have trouble not bouncing around and daydreaming a little bit and thinking of something else. But it goes back to the quote. I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none, and that's a good
Sure.
point. Good point you make, because I think what I wished is not necessarily that my parents had pushed me to stick with one thing, but they had taught me how to mentally do so. How to mentally be happy and be motivated in one area of life, because I totally agree with you. I watch documentaries instead of read, and I love it because I'm able to talk about ballet on a plane one time with a guy. I have nobody that I know is in ballet, and I have no interest in it. But so it's done good for me, but at the same time, I look back and I was pretty competent at various sports or musical instruments or whatever it is, but I just switched all the time and I got bored just like you. I think we have a similar mind in that way.
Hmm. But yet still above average based on our snowboarding.
Yeah. I did like snowboarding. My body is reaping the effects of my college snowboarding and thinking I was Shaun White, but I learned that's somewhere where I think I could have gone somewhere maybe, but I learned quickly that there's a reason why tall, lanky guys are not snowboarders, and there's also like a trade, just like the money versus happiness conversation. There's a trade of like how how much abuse is it worth for my body to take to get somewhere, and do I think that abuse will actually pay off to the level that it should? Who knows? That's.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a real thing. Right. I've lost teeth and broken so many bones I don't even know. But
Yeah,
but it's given me my experiences, and I don't mind a little bit of pain.
absolutely, man.
So so coming so coming around full circle here, commanding attention. One of the things that had popped into my head earlier was talking about this, about how we've been guided by our parents and our books and our documentaries and our life experiences in directing attention, right? And saying, how does that get directed? Like, there's some level for my mind of diminishing returns, like we're talking about, where yeah, you can get to the 90th percentile of the population and to the 95th percentile with minimal more effort, but then to get from 95th to the 99th percentile might be now that's all you do. And the opportunity cost is everything else you could potentially do. So, have you thought about this as a parenting idea with your kids? They're still young and in that uh, plenty of time to see who they're going to become.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've thought endlessly about this, and just like your parents, my outlook and my desire is to let them find their passion and not influence that at all. If they want to be a tuba player instead of a snowboarder, then by all means, I will support anything that they do. It doesn't matter what their lifestyle is. It doesn't matter what their focus is. It doesn't matter whether I shared that focus. But once they do find that passion, it's it's my hope and my goal to nurture it and to support them in a really healthy way that makes them want to continue on that road and want to take that as far as they can. I think that parenthood is so tough and such a puzzle, in that there's no book on how to do it. There's no outline of how to get your child to be the individual that you want them to be. But I think that the biggest thing is having a healthy home environment. My wife and I couldn't be you know, more dialed in at creating a healthy home environment without stress. And then if we can translate that into simple support to the greatest level and doing anything we need to do to support them in their passions and hobbies, um, and then going out of our way to do whatever it takes on our end to do so. And that's my hope. And I hope that I can that I can see what their hobby is at a very early age, and get them into that, because I think the young mind soaks up experiences and skills in a way that is not a fact of life as you get older. It's why they learn languages so much better at a young age. And so really it's kind of a combination of how you said your parents approach things, mine as well, in full support of anything we'd like to do, but then taking my time to to make sure that I put as many opportunities for them to stay on that path as I can, whether it's being available to get them wherever they need to get, figuring out a way to financially afford whatever that hobby is. And I think if I focus on that, it's gonna allow them to focus on it, and it's going to nurture that path.
Sure. Yeah, my one observation, in which I know you already do, which is great, like that kids are sponges, right? They take in whatever they take in, just like the human mind in general is. And so as long so they see that in you also, right? That you grow in this persistent way, right? They'll just infer that. There's not even like you can teach through words, but obviously your actions show them the same thing, right? That you've got the experience to have been like able to get to a certain level of snowboarding, and maybe that's not what you do now, but finding some way as an adult and as the parent to translate that stick with itness to them through your own behavior patterns, right? Just through
Absolutely.
example. Mhm.
Absolutely, man. And that's a great point too, is I don't ever let my son see, because I never do this, and I'm proud of it. I never say I can't do something, and I definitely do not show them that thought process. And my 4-year-old says frequently, he'll be scared of something, or scared to jump over something or whatever it is, and he says I can't. And we'll stand there until he gets the confidence up in a healthy way, and I'll support him until he knows he can. And that's a big one, is your
Yeah,
actions, and being that figure that doesn't just say it but shows it to them, and teaches
right.
them. So
Yeah, and then that they say that even God can move mountains, and in a lot of sense, to the small child mind, the parents are God.
yeah, they
So
are, and they are until they're not. But
yeah,
but
right,
as long as you've been a figurehead in their world to really show them some good, when they see that their parents aren't perfect, and they're disappointed in their parents at some level, they have enough respect for them to override that.
right. Well, I feel like that's a nice full cycle. I think we should wrap things up here and let people back with their day, and you back to your day as well.
Hey, you too. Enjoy your day. Go enjoy the Colorado wonderland. And
Yeah,
as always, everybody, thanks for watching our videos. If you're into what we do and into our subject matter, please subscribe. We'll post some links for you within this video, and look forward to next time.
yeah. Thank you so much, guys. And if you guys have anything you'd like us to try to talk about for you or with you or anything, just reach out, please. We'd love to hear it and get some feedback. Thanks for being here. Much love, y'all.
All right. See you, Aaron. Have a good
See
day.
ya.